it's Cami and Steve. Welcome back over here to another video on That's Comical. Hi, Steve. We are reviewing another ice cream man. You ready for this?
Yes, believe it or not, I am.
Well, we hope you all are enjoying your ice cream Sunday treats as well as we bring you these treats by the scoop. And we are currently in volume 3, Hopscotch Melange. And that is bringing us to issue 10. I can't believe we're already on issue number 10.
That's a celebration all on itself.
I know. I feel like we should have some confetti or something. Tonight we're going to be talking about Border Town, or Border Story, which I'm really excited about because as soon as I saw the artwork for this, I knew I was going to love it. We are going to deep dive into another issue of W. Maxwell Prince. If you're new here, though, there's still time to catch up, guys. I mean, come on. We're only 10 issues in. It's a huge celebration for us because this is something that we had talked about forever, and here we are. But there's still plenty of time for you to get to the point that we're at now. And of course, if it's a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. We're excited to have you, and we're getting fatter by the scoop. So today, like I said, we're talking about Border Story. This one was interesting because it's a bilingual take, which I was kind of curious to see how long he was going to carry on the Espanol. But we start out on this particular issue in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. And that is like a hop, skip, and a jump from my old stomping grounds, which we get into at the middle point in this issue, which is El Paso, Texas. So this is all me right here. This is all me. So if you're not familiar with the geography of that, Ciudad Juarez, Mexico is the border town to El Paso, Texas, and it is very much a culture-driven city. It is all about celebration of heritage and Mexican culture, the food, the family, the just everything that faces that lifestyle. And El Paso is pretty much the same. I mean, if you go to Mexico, there in Juarez, and you partake in the food, and you are fortunate enough to meet some of the natives, you will see that there is very little deviation between Juarez and El Paso. I mean, people there are so friendly, and they'll give you the shirt off their back. And I'm sorry, bar none, call me biased, but that is the best Mexican food on planet Earth. It is just so, so good. So we start off, like I said, in Juarez in 1919, which is cool because it's like the turn of the century. And we are visiting a young woman by the name of Maria who is about to get married on a very unconventional day. Dia de los Muertos. And if you're not familiar with Mexican culture, Dia de los Muertos is the Day of the Dead. That's what it translates into. And it is a celebration, and it's actually a week-long celebration of Mexican culture in honoring the deceased. So there is usually a table that is set up with pictures of the decedent, and there is a gift that is presented to each picture in honor of their life. It's a representation of who they were. So if they, liked flowers, maybe you'll put a bouquet of flowers at the base of their photo. If they like sweet treats, you might put some little candies on the bottom. There's also an array of candles. You can even pay homage to your pets. You will see a ton of pictures of pets, along with the ancestry of the historical genealogy that makes up you and who you are, where you come from. So not only is it a celebration of life, but it is also a celebration of where you come from and what makes up who you are, who makes up who you are. It's actually a really beautiful celebration. And I love how it's depicted here. I was a little nervous though, because I'm like, married on the Day of the Dead. So there was obviously going to be some kind of macabre setting here. I'm speaking a lot here, so let me interject by getting your thoughts. So early on, what are your feelings? What are you feeling? Take me into the day in the life of Steve when you picked up this issue and you're like, it's in Spanish. What's going on?
Well, first I want to say I knew that this was going to be one that you were going to be glowing about. Thanks to Disney Pixar's Coco, everybody in this country knows what the Day of the Dead is right now.
Right?
But no, I really do love the story around this specific holiday because we remember our past, but what we also do is we welcome them into the present with us on that specific day. That's what I really appreciate about that. I don't celebrate it, but I always, when I learned about this as I got older, I thought that that was such a beautiful way to, you know, when you remember your ancestors and you remember your family, there's always a lot of sadness. But of course, when in Jewish culture, when we immediately lose a family member, we do something called sitting Shiva, which means sitting for 7 days. The mourner sits in a chair that is lower than everybody else, and they leave their door open, and people from all over, friends, family, people from the neighborhood, people from your past, people from your present, coworkers, they all come to your house for 7 days. They provide you food, they provide you company, and it's just about the person just sitting in front of everybody and just sharing good times. Because even though it's a time of sadness, it's about remembering the good. And that's what the Day of the Dead is, remembering the good in the now. And that's what I really appreciate about it. In regards to the book, I will say W. Maxwell Prince, as always, he's got some brass balls in those pants because of the fact that he was willing to actually go in a direction that a large portion of his audience probably didn't expect. An almost entire issue written in Spanish, a language that is very much spoken throughout the world. It's the second most spoken language in the world. But look, in reality, there are a lot of people that do not understand it and do not speak it. Myself, I don't speak it, so I know a few words. I mean, look, Sesame Street helped me with that, but I didn't take Spanish in high school. But it was a bold move. But one of the few things that I appreciate is the fact that he really wanted to make this issue authentic. It's one of the other reasons why I love Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds so much, because a large chunk of that movie is spoken in German and French, because he's trying to let you know this movie is taking place in 1940s Germany and France. They don't speak English in these countries. So you have to make it as authentic as possible. And I do appreciate the fact that there were instructions in the graphic novel. Please go to this specific page if you want to see the translation of all of this. So very helpful. But the story itself is, it's a story that has been done before. It's a love story. It's basically the story of, like you said, a girl named Marita getting married on the Day of the Dead to Rick. which is the scary part of the whole story. And her true love is a boy named John, or in the case of the story on her end, Juan. But that's a character I want to dive into a little bit because I have questions about him.
I will never claim that I know Spanish because I don't want people to think, oh, you're going to be able to speak it back. But I have held my own in certain situations. Back to the story. So, yeah, we have Maria who's getting ready. She looks absolutely exquisite. She's got the Los Muertos makeup on. She's got the traditional dress, but then we also have to think of the time period. So the way she's dressed is actually very quintessential for that time period. She's going to be marrying what we would think from the first few pages is going to be the love of her life. But if you really look at her facial expression, you can tell she's very sad. And you're kind of like, okay, is this because of the day? Is this, what's going on? Like, why is she drawing this negative energy? And then the general walks in. When you see him, you're like, okay, this guy is trouble. I don't know. That's just the immediate feeling that I got, that something is off with this guy. And then he starts whispering sweet nothings in her ear that are absolutely devastating. Enjoy this day because we are not going to celebrate moving forward. There's not going to be a lot of joy in our life. And you can just see the absolute devastation on her face. I'm like, oh God. So I'm thinking in the back of my head the whole time, is he going to murder her?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's going to be some kind of sacrifice on the day of the wedding. But we kind of toggle then at that point after the sweet nothings in the ear to the gentleman that you want to have a discussion about. So then let's jump the border literally to El Paso, Texas, which literally El Paso is a hop, skip, and a jump away from Juarez. And we meet what we learn or we come to find the love of her life, and that's John. So let's talk about him a little bit.
Is he Caleb's kid?
There's definitely a resemblance in the face.
That's the part that freaked me the frick out, because I was like, what happened here? And more importantly, does Caleb not know that his kin is making mischief on the other side of the border?
Definitely see something in his eyes. So yeah, immediately I was drawn to that. So I had the same feeling you had. And then also when he's purchasing flowers for Maria, I was like, what the old lady says to him is kind of telling. So I don't know. I'm getting the vibe that that's what Prince wants us to think, that these two are inadvertently related, and maybe that's why they're at odds with each other. I don't know, kind of like a Mexican Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, I definitely
will.
get that.
That's the vibes I picked up from this. But we see him go to the courtyard, and he basically courts her in the courtyard and tells her, happy birthday, my love. Don't worry, don't be down, don't be sad. I'm here, for you. I'm here to rescue you, and I will be back to do that tomorrow. So he presents her with a rose. And at which point, that's when we have the language switch, because she wants him speak in English. So she's like, mi amor, talk to me in English. That is your native tongue. That is what I want to hear from you. And then they switch to English at this point, and they're just having a normal conversation between two lovers.
Mm-hmm. And then, that's the other thing. This one really zips by it, because they really just don't give you that many opportunities to slow down, because then you just have a standoff between the general and John. That's pretty much what happens.
Well, there is a small little thing that I think is important to point out. At the conclusion of their conversation, as they embrace in a hug and a kiss, Berthia is behind her aunt, and
right.
She is overseeing this interaction between the two, and she's also praying, and she has the rosary in her hand, and in that, her prayer is going to be that of opposite of what's happening in the courtyard. There's some kind of fight for her and her place and her position. So it is not uncommon in that culture of that time to have the daughter wedded off to a family. And oftentimes it's, much like an arranged marriage in any other culture you might be familiar with, you're going to be traded because of something you can provide to the other family, cattle, money, a dowry, something of that nature. So you do kind of get that illusion from her aunt that there's something is going on. Like, she's praying that this doesn't work, that there's really no true love between her and John, and she wants the marriage to the general to proceed.
Yes, because with the general comes wealth, comes power, comes protection.
Yes, and prestige, obviously he's a very well-known, they bow to him when he walks into the room to look at Maria in her dress. So obviously there's something there. We fast forward to the next day after this embrace, and we are at her party. They're singing to her in Spanish once again. Happy birthday. You have the kids playing in the courtyard, playing with the piñata. And then you see at the end of the table, the general once again, and he's starting to get more sinister in his appearance. His eyes are glowing at this point. So then that's when you definitely are like, okay, I know who this guy is now. If I ever thought it wasn't, now I know exactly who you are.
How in God's name did he get there? I know that Rick loves to meddle. He meddles enough to get the Scooby-Doo gang chasing after him, but I'm just like, I don't know how he got here. Again, what I really like is how there is a link between this issue and the previous issue, because again, we're talking about those moments in time where these two characters are. And again, we've talked a lot about when exactly are they, along with where are they? But in this case, we're clearly seeing that both Caleb and Rick have been on Earth for quite some time, because one of the other things that I was very glad to see was, because of the fact that the date was 1919, there was actually a small mention of there's a war going on, because of the fact that we have to remember that this was literally around the time when World War One was actually happening.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I was just about to say that. Let's kind of take a remembrance here to issue number 9 and the whole set from a very long time ago, but there was definitely a Western feel throughout that entire story. And then at the very end of the story, you get Caleb with these kind of glossed over bug looking eyes, and he's like, I'll see you in the next one, Rick. And then we fast forward to this. So it's a very similar feeling, but we had a lot of questions at the end of the road, asking ourselves, where were we? What planet were we on? Who are Caleb and Rick? Like, are they just these
Has life
characters
begun again?
Yes, like there was so many questions I had throughout issue 9, not just at the end. Like, it had me really second guessing this whole thing. And then, how he time travels. Is this time travel? Like, what are we getting to here? So, yeah, there was just a huge appreciation for the writing style of W. Maxwell Print throughout all of issue 9, and then to kind of see it tie in here to issue 10. So as we are seeing that facial recognition and we're like, okay, what's going on? We do get a little bit of John's background. We see that he has a brother, and there is this kind of question, it looks like an older brother saying, okay, so you're just going to hop the border and go and rescue this girl? What makes you think she needs rescued, And then you see him grab a pistol. And so it'd be some kind of attempt of rescuing this girl and bringing her across the border to possibly marry her and live out this life. And he's like, okay, so you think that by rescuing her from her current situation, which he obviously knows a little bit about the general, he's making the same assumptions we are, that there's power, wealth, money, prestige behind that. And then you want to give her this, on the farm, on the ranch kind of life. Like, what do you honestly have to offer her? And so there's kind of a at odds, but his mind is already made up. He's set. And then we see him in the middle of the night go over to Maria. She's asleep. And again, Romeo and Juliet kind of situation. He calls up to her at the window. She comes, to the window, and she's like, I'll be right down. And then you see the Thea's face again, and she's there, and she's like, oh, so you come into our country and you think that you're just going to steal her in the middle of the night and that this is what we want from you? Well, it's shameful and going to happen on my watch. And so there's kind of a altercation between those two. It's a verbal altercation, and then all of a sudden the general comes out. He's like, John, it's a pleasure to meet you. It's a shame because I thought you'd be a little bit taller. The quintessential Rick jabs that he does.
Yep, and then we have a stand there.
But then at this point, yeah, he has Maria in his arms with a knife to her throat. And so the intensity definitely amplifies. Like, oh God, what's going to happen here? So we have the general and Maria on one side and John and the aunt on the other side. And he's just pleading for her, like, let her go. And obviously that's not what's going to happen here.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, we don't get the happy ending in this case. We don't.
No, we don't.
But then again, in Ice Cream Man, do we ever? Except for maybe My Little Poltergeist.
Like great ending, but yeah, it's usually never happy.
Yeah, this was not going to be one of those comics that leaves you happy. But then again, like I said, does Ice Cream Man just doesn't make you happy. It just makes you crave more. Just you have to go back into that carton with that spoon because you want to have more of it, because it just leaves you with so many emotions and so many thoughts, and you just question and question and question. And at the same time, you just are so happy that you just read a crazy original comic book. That's what you get with every issue.
Absolutely. This one I kind of had a little glimmer of hope because obviously John pops off a shot. He shoots the general in the shoulder. So he's not dead, but this allows him to release Maria, and then she kicks him in the face. So you're hoping, okay, maybe he can just grab her, and maybe he's got a horse waiting outside the atrium and
Mhm.
he's just going to ride off into the night. But that's not what happens, because then we get the true Rick face, and that comes out and he's just like, no, like so many before you, you can't kill me, and now I'm coming after you. And unfortunately, he ends up getting stabbed.
Yep. Yep.
So that is kind of the Romeo and Juliet ending. Maria embraces him, but here is the twist for me. I didn't see the ending coming. So we see John's brother go to the border, and he's kind of like looking over the border. It's kind of dusk, and it's appearing like he's waiting for him to come home. Like there's an anticipation of, I know you went out on this journey. I know you were seeking this rescue, so to speak. And then he returns back to the house only to get a knock at the door.
Hmm.
Lo and behold, who is it?
It's Rick.
No, it's Maria.
Oh, wait, that's right. That's right. I'm
And
sorry.
I'm like, what? Like, so she says, I have nowhere else to go, which I get it. Like, she's probably been completely ostracized from her family because she didn't go through with the arranged marriage. The general at this point, you know, he's not deceased, but he's probably pissed, and he's like, I want nothing to do with this wrench. And so the marriage is off. It's her birthday, but we come to find out she's only 15 years old. We have
Yeah.
no idea how old John's brother is. And he's got a really weird smile on his face. Like he's ready to get this woman on, when he was just bitching and complaining that John was going to go over the border and rescue her. And then here she is. And what are we supposed to believe? That they're just going to ride off into the sunset, live happily ever after, and he's going to take
No.
John's place? I mean, it is very common, because if you watch any kind of Western movies, any woman who's left on the plantation, her husband goes off to war, and he, you know, unfortunately doesn't
It's
make it.
usually up to like a brother or an
Yes.
uncle to take care of the child.
Yeah, come and help with the family, and then they end up falling in love, and then she marries the brother or the uncle or whatever. It's just always a weird situation. So it's not an uncommon storyline. It's just not how I anticipated this particular issue coming to a close. I don't know if I'm happy because I'm sad that John's dead, but in the
Yeah.
same respect, I'm like, for the brother, that, like, was this your plan all along? I mean, obviously he didn't wish his brother dead, but you just you just take in this woman open arms. I don't know. I'm just a
No,
little
well,
taken aback.
again, this book, this issue really just leaves you, once again, it leaves the door wide open for so much thought and so much analyzation. But that's Ice Cream Man for you. You just take
Yeah.
these issues and you just break them up and you dissect them and you really try and figure out what is the purpose of each of these little stories. And you're never going to know this. And the truth of the matter is, Team Ice Cream Man's not even going to tell you. I mean, I know that the last time I said I'd love to sit with these guys and figure out where all these crazy ideas come from, but now, you know, something reality sinking in, they're not going to tell you, because if they tell you all their secrets, what's the point of these stories, you know?
Yeah. I think that is the point. It's leaving it up to the imagination. Like, you've entered my world of crazy. Now let your mind lead you from here. I give you all the in betweens, and you have to piece it together and just kind of draw your own conclusion. Because I don't think there's really truly any Ice Cream Man issue that we have dove into that fully fleshes out the story. There's always kind of an interpretation left for you, the reader, to interpret the way that you would see it. And I think that is kind of the beauty of this, you know? So,
Yeah, I mean, that's
not
again,
disappointed.
in a world where they're constantly talking so much negativity about Western comics, about the fact that there are so many that believe that the industry is dying right now, and it's just like the industry. I definitely am going to say that they're not entirely wrong. I definitely feel that there is a lot of what ifs right now in the world of comics. But again, I think that that's only if you solely are committed to the big two. And when it comes to the big two, and you know that the biggest problem with the big two is the fact that they are both owned by two gigantic corporations. So you don't know what the future is. I mean, we don't really need to talk about this, but I think it's actually essential. The fact that when we got the recent events in Disney over the last couple of months, Marvel laid off 1,000 people. People who have been there as big shots have been let go and forced out right now, and they're bringing in people in their place for obviously for less money, but these people are not from the backgrounds that make comic books what they are. So I don't know what the future of Marvel is. I don't know what the future of DC Comics is. I mean, a lot of people are saying the only way to save these iconic names is to just outsource them to other companies. And I just feel that that would be the weirdest thing ever. Like, Image Comics is where you can find the latest issue of Batman. I mean, granted, the stories might be 10 times better, but it just doesn't feel right to see Batman on the title and right on the side is the Image Eye. It just doesn't make sense. But the indie comics world is where everything is just working. And the reason why it's working is because the mentality is, yes, these are big name companies, but it's the creators that are giving us the stories, and it's the creators that own these stories. There's no corporate barriers holding these creators back from creating what they're creating. They're allowed to do whatever they want. And that's why Ice Cream Man is here, and that's why Ice Cream Man is what it is. There's no other comic book like it. There's no creative team quite like it. I mean, clearly, this trio definitely has made their marks, considering the fact that they just recently worked with DC Comics on a Superman book that was unlike anything I ever read. And now they're taking a C character out, the Dead Man, and they're going to make a 6-issue miniseries about him. So I'm just like, that's why Ice Cream Man is what it is. If it wasn't like this, there wouldn't be videos like this. There wouldn't be so many people talking about Ice Cream Man like this, because that's what it is.
Well, we're done talking about this issue, but next time we're going to visit issue number 11, and that is entitled TV Story. That should be fun. But this one was interesting because it tied in 9 and 10. It was a good segue. I feel like it still left some things open-ended. We still have a lot of questions about Caleb and Rick, their history, what they are, where they came from, what living in. But it's crazy, it's chaos, and it's delicious, and I love it. So thank you all for joining us for another issue of Ice Cream Man. We hope you're enjoying this journey with us. Of course, as always, talk to us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know how you're enjoying this journey as well. Again, if you haven't even started, just go back, read the first 9 issues, and you don't necessarily need to read any one issue before in order to catch up. So if you want to just start where we're at, there's nothing wrong with that either. And if you're not a loyal subscriber, I don't know why not, because we have a lot of fun over here. So subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest videos and content. And until next time, we will see you soon. Thanks a lot, Steve. This was fun.
Of course it was. Thank you very much, everybody.